What's a sign that a movie is going to be bad? When the main actor's name is bigger than the title on the poster. Bonus points if the actor's last name isn't the real famous named actor. Example, Quentin Tarantino recently was on What the Frick talking about how his estranged father and Al Pacino's estranged father got together and made a few direct-to-video B movies. So they get to put Tarantino Pacino at the top of the poster for marketing. Then you see two random old dudes showing what is obviously the best part climax in the trailer. If it isn't strong enough to catch my interest with the lead up, it's likely gonna suck. An exposition in which one character explains everything that's going on to another character that should already know what is going on. Look, I know we had a 40-minute drive to get here and I didn't say shoot, but I'm going to let you in on the plan 20 seconds before we go shooting up this place. It's an edgy reboot of a children's property that stopped being relevant a decade ago. Directing credit goes to Alan Smithy. Hey. Starts with too much exposition. Mary, just because you have a medical degree from Harvard, I'm still your older brother. When the movie was supposed to be a drama and they changed it during filming to a comedy. Has too many of what unknown critics say on the movie poster or trailer. It's the thrill-packed roller coaster of the season. Or the quote on the poster is like, it's great, there's an entire paragraph bashing the movie cut out in between those two words. It's a movie. Not that bad. If the character points out something that is blatantly obvious, I'm here to make a drug deal. Where are the drugs? In a world where one man has to save the world. Man, I have to save the world. Other character to man, you have to save the world. Villain, you'll never save the world. Love interest, you have to save the world. For me. If there are multiple trailers for a comedy movie, but they use the same joke in all of them. Also when the trailer gives away the twist or climax of the movie. Remember that Terminator movie where they revealed John was a Terminator in the trailer? That's when I knew I wasn't gonna watch it. Or hell, if you feel like you saw the entire movie after just watching the trailer. Netflix is the worst for this. I can't believe they keep making 2.5-minute trailers and they just sequentially run through all of the key scenes in the film, including the climax. Who runs things there? When the commercials all have 1 or 2 word reviews, and the reviews are from people who've never heard of. Feast for the senses. William Albertson of the Topeka Star Tribune Weekend Film Magazine, Online Edition. Excellent. Chris Campbell, Burnaby Now. That was nice. Caroline Withers, organist and part-time moviegoer. First Baptist Church of Dover monthly newsletter and coupon catalog. Compelling. Splendid. Poignant. Riveting. These words and more have been used in sentences that have been used to describe this film. When they hype the movie's soundtrack more than the film itself. X. Suicide Squad. If it's being released in January, that isn't the case every time, just most of the time. Yup. For whatever reason, January is basically the cinematic dumping ground month. Whenever they start promoting their movie by constantly comparing it to one of the all-time greats in the genre. If you are a fantasy movie and you have to state in the advertising that you are great just like Lord of the Rings, it makes me think your movie is probably shoot. Because you are not Lord of the Rings. It's been in production for too long. There's always a reason. For a recent example, Chaos Walking. It changed screenwriter, director and production company so many times over 10 years. But was sold on it being a Charlie Kaufman movie starring Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland. Kaufman left in 2013. Ridley and Holland filmed it over years due to so many reshoots and failed screenings. Then Lionsgate said the negative reviews were shocking to them. Really? I forgive all movies from 2021 to 2023 for this. A notable exception to development hell movies being bad is Mad Max Fury Road. The Abyss and Titanic both had serious production issues and long delays. Yeah, but that was because Cameron is a perfectionist and drove everyone crazy with it, not because they kept changing the writer, director, producer, etc. For The Abyss, it also didn't help that Cameron and the producer, Gale Anne Hurd, got married just before deciding to work on it as their next picture, got separated during pre-production, and got divorced after principal photography. As a side note, Cameron based the character of Lindsay on Heard. Get ready to see back in action in the big screen. This line is used in many bad movie trailers of old properties which are made into movies. Who Left the Fridge Open? Tug Speedman. Scorcher 6. Global Meltdown. Here we go again. The one man who made a difference 5 times before is about to make a difference again. Only this time, it's different. Critics did not receive an advance screening in order to write a review. It means the studio is hoping to at least recover an opening weekend of ticket sales before word gets out. You see it more and more in the video game industry as well, where they either don't give them review copies early, only give them for a specific platform, or won't let them publish anything until a certain date. The preview shows a girl who's just too focused on career to find love going back to her small hometown for whatever reason. And she has a boyfriend, but is having a hard time connecting with him. Her mum calls her and persuades her to visit and come home. Hijinks ensue when she meets a male friend from her childhood who works at her parents' country-style business. Also, her diverse gang of friends from the big city come down to rescue her from various awkward situations. The Hallmark Channel is offended by your comment, so they made another 10 films with DJ from Full House. So every Hallmark movie ever starts with a ridiculous amount of exposition. Or the opposite. Somehow Palpatine returned. It's directed by Uwe Boll. It's always a good sign when a director starts challenging all of their critics to boxing matches. The simple act of me wanting to watch it pretty much makes it a bad movie. I'm like a moth to flame with bad flicks. They said the word family 20 times in 15 minutes and it's not a movie about a mob family. It's okay. You can say Fast and Furious. The family and the families. My favorite thing in movies is when characters have to explain their relationships to each other. Hey man, we have been best friends since we were 12 inches. Listen, little sister, I'm here for you if you need me. Well, if it isn't my ex-wife, mother to my 2 kids. The near constant advertising. Usually the exact same spot played before every video on YouTube. Often, they'll feature an actor way more famous than the cast, with a minor cameo, front and center on the poster. There's a whole phenomenon with actors like Bruce Willis and Sylvester Stallone doing action movies where they have top billing, but appear only for 10 minutes. Scream used this effectively with Drew Barrymore. She was the big name and killing her off a few minutes into the movie really shook up audiences when it came out. If my mum called to recommend it to me, I swear to God my grandma once came to tell me about this incredibly funny movie she saw on TV called Jack and Jill. Watches film. Puts grandma in a home. When one villain wasn't enough to make a movie, so they shoehorn in multiple half-ass villains instead. Unless we get 6 prior movies focusing on each villain, we're never getting a good Sinister 6 movie and that's very saddening. When I can tell how it's going to end by just watching the trailer. When it is 10 minutes in, and you have said what the frick under your breath 5 or more times. When the opening credits tell you a really interesting story. When the opening scene involves a shootout with so many cuts you literally cannot see what is happening, or who is shooting at whom. When the narrator sounds bored. Putting a director who has no idea what the source material is about. Looking at you Dragon Ball Evolution. Artemis Fowl was more of a dumpster fire than the Percy Jackson films. If it's from the studio that brought you, insert decent movie here. Especially if it's an old movie. DreamWorks still milks Shrek. If it opens with a narration starting with, I know what you're thinking. It just screams desperation from a crowded writer's room. The Emperor's New Groove is flawless and you won't convince me otherwise. Kuzco is the greatest Disney princess. Record scratch. You're probably wondering how I got here. Baba O'Reilly begins to play. Well, it all started a couple days ago. Out here in the fields. When my life got a little weirder. When the trailer shows you way too much. When they try adding a in real life trend in the movie, it's just cringe. Even worse is when they try forcing memes into it. It's either cringe or so outdated that it just looks stupid. The Emoji Movie did both of these things. The Emoji Movie is these things. When you've basically seen the entire plot of the movie and all main scenes in the trailer. All main scenes in the trailer. There was a movie years ago that became infamous because the funniest scene in the trailer wasn't in the movie. What movie? Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Michael Caine and Steve Martin. The scene where one of them knocks a little old lady off the promenade into the water isn't in the movie. Shaky cam and quick cut editing. Jumping over a fence. 20 quick cuts. Take it or leave it. James Corden. A comedian who hasn't been funny in 10 years stars in it and plays multiple roles. Looking at you, Sandler, Murphy, and Myers. It's clearly being released in a desperate attempt to capitalize on a different studio's success. WB keeps trying to rival the MCU with DC films, but their meddling repeatedly ruins them. Also, the Divergent series trying too hard to be Hunger Games. It's a sequel prequel spin-off that stars none of the major pullers from the first one. G.I. Joe. Blatantly bad recasting to the point where you wonder if it would have been better to just drop the character. Mummy 3. Miracle Resurrection plot devices. Because they couldn't think of any way to make a new character instead. WW84. F&F. It has anything to do with Steven Seagal.